Hey everybody, this is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com. We're back with this week's new comic book reviews, and it's a pretty big week, kids. Lots of good stuff. Some okay stuff. Fortunately, no train wrecks. Real quickly, we'll go through the changes. I thankfully remember to change them. So we have the Zenith. There's multi-volumes of this, but this is the first one. This was a UK a book that was written by Grant Morrison with artwork by Steve Yowell. And I believe Titan has reprinted those. Then we have Godzilla, The Half Century War, written and drawn by Steve Stokey. Which is really, really good. They're actually coming out with a newer version. This is the original hardcover. They're coming out with a newer expanded version, I guess. Then we have Harvey Picard's The Quitter with artwork by Dean Haspel, which is really good. I really enjoy Harvey Picard's work. Then we have The Inferior Five that was done by Keith Giffen and Jeff Lemire. That was actually only the first 4 issues actually came out in print. And the other ones were on released digitally because that was, I think, part of the DCU. Anyways, it didn't sell very well, so they at least did put out the 6 issues. And there's also a Peacemaker backup by Jeff Lemire, which is really good. It's a really interesting book, very different. Then we have, I'm going to try to get out of the way, Wonder Woman by Kurt Biscuit. With artwork by Trina Robinson, which I actually thankfully finally got signed at WonderCon, even though I've met her many times over the years. And then Bear, which is written by Ben Queen, and with artwork by Joe Todd Stanton. That's actually a really great all ages book. Queen was involved. He works at Pixar, and he was involved. I believe he wrote Cars 2 and 3, I believe. But anyways, those are this week's books. So without further ado, yeah, we're kind of a little late this week, but it's once again crazy week at work. So we got a lot of books, so we're just gonna get going. First up, we have Night Terrors number 4, written by Joshua Williamson, with artwork by Giuseppe Camicoli, Stefano Nessi, and Casper Weingard. So what this is the dead man has been inhabiting Batman to find insomnia. They're heading to Arkham Asylum, and he's now with Damian and Wesley Dodd, the original Sandman. And so their whole plan of defeating insomnia with the death crystal or with dream crystal or whatever it was, doesn't go well. And basically that and of course it doesn't really end in the 4th issue because there's now going to be some sort of special to wrap everything up. Honestly, this would have been kind of a interesting story had it been just, like a dead man Sandman story. I think the big key is I don't feel that this whole need to be a whole wide event book in every single comic. It wasn't dreadful, but it was just kind of okay. And a lot of the individual issues were kind of, once again, we go back to, they were just boo-hoo, I'm having a bad nightmare. And there was just really just a handful that really kind of didn't follow that route. And then the main story was just like, oh, we thought we were going to defeat the villain, but we didn't. And now we're going to have a special issue to show that we can really defeat the villain. And let's be honest, that's really where it's going to go. So honestly, I think for the most part, the Night Terror has been kind of disappointing. And once again, it goes back to why I'm not a big fan of events, because, they've especially there were new series that started, had 2 issues, like Green Lantern and Titans had 2 issues, and then we had to deal with 2 months of this. So, back to our regularly scheduled programming. So yeah, it's just kind of at this point, the whole thing's a wash. But we got 2 of the Night Terrors that are actually worth reading. First up, we have Night Terrors Harley Quinn number 2, written by Tinny Howard with artwork by Hayden Sherman. And what's interesting about this is Harley's nightmare is actually going through the multiversity universes. And this issue, she went through a bunch of different Earths last issue, and this she goes to Earth Zero and becomes kind of like a superhero. It wasn't particularly brilliant, but it was kind of fun, and I have to give Howard that it wasn't, once again, it wasn't a boohoo nightmare. It was actually interesting, and I like the angle that she used using the multiversity. Sherman's artwork is really, really nice. It was really a good looking book. And definitely the art was a really big standout and really helped, work with the story. Then next up, we have Night Terror's Detective #2, written by Dan Waters, with artwork by Riccardo Frederici, Mike Perkins, and Stefano Raphael. And the interesting thing I liked about this is, one, it centered on Commissioner Gordon, which made it much more interesting. And because once again, he is not a superhero, so he is fighting this, kind of robot Batman, because at one point he suited up as like a Batman. And so that's his nightmare. But what was interesting about it was that his character was like fragile, like glass. And, he's trying to beat, this demon. And yet he's, has like even less powers than human. It was really interesting. The main artwork was by Riccardo Frederici, and then Mike Perkins and Stefano Raphael did pretty much a few pages at the end. The artwork was actually really nice overall. I just liked it because it felt different, and it wasn't just, a boohoo thing. I think it was, what was interesting is Commissioner Gordon had to use, his skill and his brains to try to figure out how to defeat his nightmare. So it was rather one of the more interesting ones. The rest of them, honestly, the first issues wasn't that good. So there's no point in really bothering to review the second issues. So now we're pretty much done with Night Terrors. We'll see if the wrap-up issue is even worth mentioning at this point. So we'll see. I believe that comes next week. So we'll see what happens there. So now we're down to the regular. We're done with Night Terrors is done. Now we're back to our regularly scheduled monthly books. First up, the Immortal Thor number one, not number 4, number 1. It's written by Al Ewing with artwork by Martin Cocchio. So what this really is. So it's kind of a new, somewhat of a reboot. Now, one of the problems I did have with it a little bit was there was kind of old continuity from the previous Thor series. But the good thing I will give Ewing is that he explained kind of enough to get things going. Asgard's kind of in chaos. The Rainbow Bridge has been broken. Loki puts that back together. So, once again, is Loki, kind of Loki's not really a bad guy. He's not really a good guy. It's kind of like how he feels that day. So there's obviously something I think we'll see from that. And then, so he deals with, the problems in Asgard, and then he goes to Midgard, which is basically Earth. And, where, he's happier there. He fits in. He's a hero. He can help people. And then, there's a behind the scenes villain, which I will not give away, but he has, there's a, like a thunder god that comes after Thor, in this first issue. And obviously, he's setting up to defeat Thor. It was kind of okay. I think that was the ultimate problem. It was all nice and everything. I will say Kakulo's artwork is really nice in this book. I think the ultimate problem is it's just, the book was okay. It wasn't terrible. But it just like, okay, after you were done reading, it was like, okay, that's a nice Thor story. And, it's just, for me, it just wasn't good enough. It was kind of pedestrian in some respects. I mean, it's all nice and everything, but even at the end of the issue, I didn't find a particularly compelling reason to come back. I mean, I'll definitely try to give the second issue a spin and see what happens, but ultimately there wasn't anything really here that was new or refreshing or anything. It was kind of like, okay, here's Thor, and he's got problems, and then bad guys are coming to beat him up. That was basically the story here, and it's just for me it was just okay. Next up, we have the Penguin #1. Written by Tom King with artwork by Rafael de la Torre. So what it is so Penguin was supposedly killed, but we know he wasn't because that comes from the previous run, which is explained. King explains here, and so Penguin is now in Metropolis. Starting a new life. He's actually, just trying to be normal. He has a relationship with a girlfriend, and then the U.S. intelligence kind of comes in and arrests him, and basically, in a way, messes him up and threatens, like his girlfriend and everything. And so he ends up kind of going back to the way he used to be. And that was quite interesting. I think that it was really intriguing what King did here with the Penguin, in the fact that, he was trying to do good. He became a normal, citizen, even though, yes, he's killed people and stuff in the past. It wasn't so much that he was trying to escape his past. He just like, I want to just be normal. And yet, the forces of the intelligence agency screw that all up. So it'll be interesting to see where the story where King takes the story from here. As per usual, King really develops him as a character, which is really good. And Latorre's artwork is really, really nice. This is really a good book. It's very Tom King, but that's a really good thing. Definitely well worth checking out this week. I really, really like this book. Next up, we have The Rocketeer in the Den of Thieves, #2, written by Stephen Mooney, with artwork by David Mencia. Peevee's been kidnapped by the Nazis, and but the rocket pack is not functional right now, and so Cliff has kind of promised Betty, hey, they're just going to have like a normal life, but with Peevee being kidnapped, so he tries to go to the army and help and say, hey, Peevee's been kidnapped by the Nazis, and they don't help. But then there's this mysterious hero that comes in and is going to help Cliff fix the rocket pack so he can go save Peevee. So that's really what this issue is all about. As always, I'm a huge fan of Dave Stevens, The Rocketeer, and I'm really glad that that Scott Dunbar, the editor of the book, is kind of the keeper of these of The Rocketeer. And I think this one's really interesting. I mean, you can't go wrong with beating up Nazis and Nazis being bad. That's always a plus. The second issue is quite interesting. I like how Mooney is developing the relationship with Cliff and Betty. And, there's this kind of new mysterious, kind of hero that comes to help Cliff. So that'll be kind of interesting. I like it. Messia's artwork's actually quite nice. It's a good book. Definitely, if you're a Rocketeer fan, definitely check it out. Next up, we have Klik, Klik, Boom, #3. Excuse me, written by Doug Wagner with artwork by Doug Dabbs. So Sprout, basically she's mute, and so she talks through taking Polaroid pictures. So it not only shows, so her and Serena are running away from Dillinger's gang because Dillinger killed Sprout's father. We knew that from previous issues. And so he's coming after her, she's coming after him. So in turn, he's coming after her. So Sprout has set up a trap for these guys, and Serena, is kind of along for the ride because she was doing a report about Dillinger trying, she's the reporter trying to dig stuff up. And things don't go well for the two of them this issue, so I don't really want to say anymore. I'm really digging this book. I like it a lot. Wagner, a lot of his stuff is like he did Plastic, and some other books, and this is really it's really his most mainstream story he's done in quite a while. I'm not knocking his other stuff. I actually like him as a writer, but I really like this, and I love the way that how he has Sprout communicating with pictures. It's really quite a fascinating story, and I mean, the story is pretty basic, but it's really well done. And Dab's artwork is really, really nice. This is a really good looking book. You definitely need to be checking out this book. I really like this book a lot. Next up, we have the Batman Brave and the Bold, number 4. Now, I'm only going to cover the first story because that's really, for me, the main reason to buy it. Nothing against the other ones. The second story is a fourth part of a story. And then the other story was kind of fine, but really the main reason for buying this is the main story written, the first story written by Kelly Collins and Jackson Lansing with artwork by Kelly Jones. Now, as you all know, I am the hugest Kelly Jones fan, so anytime we get to see Kelly Jones artwork on interiors, I mean, he does a lot of covers, but to see interiors is always a special treat. And for me, it is so worth the cover price of $8 for this story alone. So the basic story is that there's this kind of other dark dimension, and this woman who was born into this dark dimension has come to our side, but by doing that has created a rift between the two worlds. And so the darkness has been kidnapping people and, feeding on them. So Batman has to go into the darkness to save the people and defeat, the darkness. Once again, you can totally tell that Lansing and Kelly wrote this for Kelly Jones. It is just, it's monsters, it's creepy stuff, it's darkness. It's fantastic. It looks amazing. Like I said, for me, it was so worth just that alone. The other stories were fine and nothing against the creators, but really for me, this is what you're buying this book or this particular issue for. And as a side note, Mitch Gerrards, who is doing the Joker story with Tom King, has fallen behind with the artwork. That's why it was supposed to be in each issue. The next installment is going to be in the 5th issue, so we'll kind of see about that. But yeah, it's kind of unfortunately put a bit of a damper on this book because that was going to be the lead for the first X amount of issues. But definitely pick this issue up for sure for the Kelly Jones story at the beginning. Next up, we have Marvel Unleashed number 1, written by Kyle Starks with artwork by Jesus Hervez. So what this is so it's a story about not all, but a number of the animal heroes in the Marvel Universe. Now, what it starts off by Kraven abducting Lockjaw, and we don't know why. Even in this first issue, we just know that they're using his teleportation power for some reason. The Kraven was hired by somebody, which we know who it is, but I don't want to give too much away. And so this first issue has Lucky the Pizza Dog from Hawkeye, a new character called D-Dog, who's just a normal dog who found a mask and wants to be a superhero. And then we have Chewy, the cat Flurkin, comes in and helps. And so what it is D-Dog there's another dog who has lost his master, and we find out that master works for AIM, and so they raid the warehouse and they attack him, but they can't find the master, and then they end up finding the master because the master is the one that has kidnapped Lockjaw, or hired Kraven to kidnap Lockjaw. It's really it's a really fun story. I'm a big fan of Kyle Starks. He's I love his artwork, but he's been doing a lot of writing lately. He's currently writing the Peacemaker Tries Harder miniseries at DC. He's a really good writer. This is really a fun book. It's kind of an all ages book. I wouldn't say super young, but it's definitely a fun all ages book. It has a lot of charm to it. The artwork by Hervez is really nice. It's a really good looking book. This is not a big standout, book for Marvel, but it's kind of a shame because it's much more exciting than most Honestly, I'll tell you right now, I like this a heck of a lot more than I did Thor, and Thor is a much bigger, high profile title, but this, honestly, this comic was much better than that. And definitely well worth picking up. One of my favorite books of this week. Next up, we have The Ribbon Queen, -- 2, written by Garth Ennis with artwork by Jason Barrows. Detective Amy's son who was following Conley. So Conley was he was a detective that was rescued a girl from a serial killer, Bella, but he kind of started stalking her and everything. And so in the first issue, Bella was she was supposedly committed suicide, but it appears that she was actually murdered. So the interesting thing, what happens in this issue is that Bella's body disappears from the morgue, and then some of the other detectives that worked with Colin, because Colin was killed in the first issue, go after Detective Amy's son because they think that she killed him. But then there's a big twist at the end, which I will not give away, that it does involve Bella, but is it really Bella? We're not sure. I like I said, I don't want to give anything away. This is really an intriguing story. Ennis is a really good writer, and there's some great twists and turns. The second issue, the first issue, did a lot of setup and everything, but this, like I said, the twist at the end was like, wow, it was really intriguing. And Burroughs' artwork is really, really nice. I mean, there's some really disturbing images. This is definitely not for kind of the squeamish, but it's not over, that's the one thing I'll definitely give Burroughs. It's not overly grotesque. It fits into the story quite well. It's gory, but not kind of over the top or extraneous or anything. I'm really digging this book. It's really interesting because it's kind of like it's a murder mystery, but then there's kind of a supernatural twist to it. So definitely check this book out. I like it. Next up, we have The Schlub, #1, written by Ryan Stigman and Kenny Porter, with artwork by Tyrell Cannon. So what this is Roger Dalton is an overweight dentist who doesn't really take care of himself in a lot of respects at this point, an average Joe, who's just trying to make ends meet with his dentist practice. And he's just kind of like him and his wife is split. But they still talk and everything, and she's just he just like doesn't get on with his life. And then while he's doing a patient, this superhero who's battling a villain, Cirrus, comes in and crashes, destroys the office, and then the villain has this like mystical thing, and so what it ends up, it's basically the Freaky Friday thing. They that Cirrus and Roger change bodies, and so Cirrus, needs to get back to his body, and Roger's like, wow, I could beat people up that like pissed me off over the years. I think it didn't blow me away. It was fun. It's not, like I said, it's not something you go, oh my God, this is the greatest comic I've ever read, but it was solid. It did its job. It told the story well. Cannon's artwork's actually really nice because it has a bit of a cartoony look. I mean, it definitely, helps with the kind of humor thing. And so it really complemented the story really nicely, which was good. Because there were times where, it had like that really superhero-ish look, with the battles and stuff, but it definitely, had that, humor style, along for the ride. So, I think it's kind of, it was a fun read. It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't, mind numbing. I think the key to this book is going to be, okay, it's the Freaky Friday story. Where are you going to go with it? That's going to be the key, because it's one of those things. It works well, like as this first issue, but where is the story really going to go? That's going to be the key to this book. So I think it's worth checking out, but it's going to be kind of a, we'll see. We'll kind of wait and see where it really is going to land. Next up, we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Stranger Things #2, written by Cameron Chitlock, with artwork by Pharaoh P.E. So 11 was captured by, so there's Baxter Stockman is the villain, and he's trying to get to the, other world, or the Upside Down. And so he's captured 11, and he's basically trying, through this machine. It's like a virtual reality thing where he's trying to get 11 to open the door, basically. So that has Raphael and Donatello win that part of the story, and then Leonardo, Michelangelo, Will, Lucas, and Dustin have gone into the subway system, and they find that there's a subway car that has a opening to the Upside Down. And so they Demogorgons come and attack them, and there's that kind of story. Once again, it is what it is. It's crossovers are always pretty basic. You have, in this case, you have two turtles working with two teams. It is what it is. If you like Turtles and Stranger Things, I think you're going to enjoy this. I think if you don't like either one, you're not going to enjoy it. It's fine. Chittock story works. It does well. It moves it along nicely. Pharaoh's artwork is actually pretty nice. It's just going to be one of those books. If you think this, if you like these characters, then you're going to like this book. And that's how these kind of books go. Next up, we have The Oddly Pedestrian Life of Christopher Chaos, #3, written by, the idea is by James Tinian IV. The script is by Tate Brombell, with artwork by, Isaac Goodhart. Now, this is definitely kind of a middle-ish issue, because, what we've kind of learned so far, I'll do a quick recap. So Hayden, who is basically the Wolfman, the Wolf Boy, it appears that he was killed by the White Cloakmen, which are the old Knights of the Cross. And so his boyfriend, Dracula Boy Geordie, he knows that Christopher knows something, so he went to talk to, went to see him, and then they saw the old knights, and then Christopher's friend Viv, we find out, so they're all in detention, and so the old knights attack them in the detention, and then we find out that Viv has these kind of not cat powers, but they're kind of like psychic, but they have the form of a cat. So obviously this is a great homage to Universal Monsters. Now, how Viv's cat powers, I'm not sure what character we're coming to. I mean, that may have to do with, the cat people, the Val, based on the Val Luton stuff, which is in the same realm, not Universal, but in the same realm. And so we also learn about the leader of the White Cloak, or the Old Knights, is Father Andreas. So it's kind of looks like to be like a religious cult. And so we find out that he has been doing experiments on people, or at least this one where he turns him into a vampire. So why he does this, we don't know. Why he hates monsters, we don't know yet. But like I said, this third issue is kind of a middle-ish issue. It's just kind of moving the story along. Bromble's doing a nice job on the script. It's just not, it's not a flashy issue, but it keeps the momentum of the story going, and it, slowly unpeeling the layers of the story and how all these characters kind of fitting into the puzzle. Goodhart's art is really nice. It's a good looking book. I'm enjoying it. I think it's going to be one of those, that as it goes along, you're gonna go, oh, okay, this makes sense. So I think, you can't really base a full review like on an issue like this. But I'm liking the book so far. I'm liking the story. I'm liking the art, and I think it's fun and intriguing. So next up, we have the Unstoppable Doom Patrol #5, written by Dennis Culver, with artwork by Chris Burnham. So I had a chance to talk to Dennis Culver at San Diego Comic-Con, and what I found out was that the original series was a 6-issue miniseries, and then it developed into a 7th issue. So the whole reason for that 4th issue that I reviewed last month, with them going to the psychiatrist, was basically, in a way, kind of a fill-in issue, but it did kind of expand the story out and kind of develop the characters that, both the original Doom Patrol and then the new characters. So now this issue is kind of getting back to the main story. So we now know that the original chief, Niles Calder, is kind of, he's definitely still involved, but not as involved, because Crazy Jane is the new chief. So they what they're doing is they're infiltrating Megagon Corporation. Above, the original Doom Patrol is keeping them busy while Niles and Crazy Jane go down to, and what it is a Megaton Corporation. They're creating metahumans. Brian McLean, who's running this, is basically, what he's doing. He's using Niles Calder's form of how, his genetics, how he ultimately created the Doom Patrol, and he wants to create new metahumans, and he actually creates Meta Woman. And Niles is telling him, it's like, look, this was a fluke that this happened. These are not, good, you should not be messing with things. And it's really interesting. I'm really digging what Culver's doing with this. I like the new characters that he's introduced, and also how he's, keeping the old, the original Doom Patrol. They feel like the original Doom Patrol. They feel like those characters, which is always a plus. And really, Chris Burnham's artwork is just, this is a great looking book. I'm a big fan of the Doom Patrol, and Culver and Burnham are doing those characters really proud right now. And I definitely love this book, and it's well worth checking out. Next up, we have the Bone Orchard Mythos Tenement #3, written by Jeff Lemire, with artwork by Andrea Sorrentino. So once again, the Bone Orchard Mythos, there's been 3 separate stories that they kind of connect, but you can read them on their own. So if you haven't read the other 2, you can totally read Tenement by itself. There's just little kind of Easter eggs that are going to be, here and there from the other stories. We see some of those Easter eggs here. Well, I will not, that kind of do with some of the other stories. But once again, if you haven't read those, you're not going to be lost at all. So we know that the building has been kind of transported to what appears to be maybe a hell or something, but it's kind of like this different place that does not look good. So they're on the 8th floor. So this issue has to do with the 7th floor. And they're originally, there's 8 people that start. So after they get through, they barely survive the 7th floor. There's only 7. And so there's 6 more floors to go. So the question is, are they going to lose people each floor? We don't know what happens to the people from it's really intriguing. This is a great horror story. I'm really digging what Lemire and Sorrentino are doing here. It's really a creepy book. And what I like about it is that it's more suspenseful than kind of like gory horror, which is really nice. I love good, creepy, horror stuff. And this is the same team who has done many other books, and it's really, really good. These guys are just firing all cylinders. it's just it's really this is a great book you really should be reading the Bone Orchard stuff. This stuff is really good stuff. Definitely recommend it. And finally this week we have it back again, Firepower number 26. Yes, 26. Written by Robert Kirkman and drawn by the great Chris Samnee. Once again, I always review this because this is the best book you're not buying. There is trades for up to, I believe, 24, 25, I think 24. So just go buy those. Just go buy them. As I always say, I think this is probably one of Kirkman's best books. I love Chris Samnee's artwork. So the dragon has destroyed a lot of Chicago. So Owen is with, Waypin. And with his kids have the firepower, and he's trying to teach other people, because apparently you can teach the firepower to other people. So that's what Owen's trying to do. And, once again, him and his wife, Kelly, they're trying to navigate this whole thing because, they want, they're devastated that Chicago has been, their hometown has been destroyed. But she's worried about her kids. She's worried about Owen. She's worried about herself. She's worried about everything. And there's some really, really great things that happen in this issue that I will not give away, but I dig this book. I love this book. It's the best book one of the best books you're not reading right now. So definitely, check this book out. It's definitely a must buy as always. That's going to do it this week. Thanks for watching. We did pretty good for that many books. I'm actually, we went through them a lot, got a ton of books this week. Once again, as I said, the week I missed for Comic-Con, what we're going to do, and we did it last week. We didn't have any this week. We'll do catch up. So like when there's like a first and second issue, we'll kind of review them both at the same time. So, but there wasn't, I don't think I missed anything this week, but as always, public service announcement, I get all my comics at Pulp Fiction Comics, Long Beach, California. Ryan Skinner, the owner, runs a great store, offers discounts on trades and hardcovers and manga and all ages books every day. He has this thing of trading posts. So if you're tired of having a bunch of trades and you've read them and you don't need them anymore, he'll trade them in, give you store credit. He'll definitely give you a lot more credit than any other store. I know that for sure. Annie, there's Annie, Wendy, and Derek. Really great. Customers, great. You stop by. There's always good conversation going on. Definitely check out their socials for any events that are going on and special things at the store, or even deals. He'll post that. Also, the website where he'll put variant covers up. So if you don't live locally, you can actually he'll sell them to you online, mail them out to you. So it's really a good comic store. It's my store. If you're in the Long Beach area, definitely check it out. It's well worth stopping by. Say hi to Ryan. Tell him I sent you. And as always, we end our show with be kind. Be kind to each other and be kind to yourself. I think a lot of people tend to forget you really need to take care of yourself. It's really important. I know things are tough all over on many different levels. I know, especially with the ongoing strike with the actors and the writers. I work in the post-production industry. It's really hurting us right now. I know people that have been recently laid off because of the lack of product. So taking care of yourself is really, really important right now. And also being kind to others is the other thing. Once again, it's just the little things. A message, on socials of encouragement. You see somebody, you can open the door for somebody, just smile at people, be nice. It's not really hard, folks, and it's not really that complicated. Things are tough all over. So being kind to yourself and being kind to others is very, very important right now. So that's going to do it this week. Thanks for watching. As always, please like, subscribe, and share our YouTube channel. Comments are always appreciated. and hopefully we'll get some things going. Just work has been really crazy, and life's been crazy. Still trying to recover from Comic-Con. Yes, it's been a month, but 5 days of Comic-Con will ruin you for at least a couple months. So that's going to do it. Thanks for watching. As always, take care of yourselves. Be kind. Please like, subscribe, and share to our YouTube channel. And we'll be back again next week with more comic reviews. This is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com signing off. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.